But as we kind of rapidly approach college football starting, I think there's only 3 teams this year that can win the national title in college football. Number 1 is Georgia. Obvious, right? I mean, Kirby Smart has this program humming. He's got all the talent in the world. You got a very good quarterback in Carson Beck, a great offensive line, so they'll be a force at the line of scrimmage like they've been during this entire run. I really like in the transfer portal the pickup of Trevor Etienne, the brother of Travis, who played his college football at Florida. You get an experienced SEC running back now to come over and plug and play in that offense. He's going to be, I think, a great fit. And you're going to have another, shocker, I know, top 5 defense in Athens. This team is loaded everywhere. But it's not just the talent as to why I think Georgia can win a national title this year. I also think it's the motivation factor. Go back to last year losing the SEC title game to Alabama, and a game I certainly didn't see coming, and I think a lot of people around the country didn't see coming, and Alabama upsetting Georgia. I think that is going to actually work out for the better for Georgia moving forward. That now gives Kirby Smart free ammunition to get this team locked and focused. You heard him say it after they smoked TCU, and they were going for the 3-peat 2 years ago. He said, the thing we're fighting now is complacency. It wasn't an opponent. It was themselves, basically, they were fighting in that 2023 season. And now losing to Alabama in a game not many people saw coming helps to refocus this team, helps to knock off the complacency, helps to really build that chip back on the shoulder of Georgia players that led them to winning 2 national titles in a row. Kirby Smart will never say it publicly. I bet you, though, deep down, kind of when the emotion runs off of that loss, he was like, good. I'm glad we lost. This will get us refocused and have us hungrier for 2024 and beyond. That loss, I think, is going to really benefit Georgia this year. I think they're going to be playing like a team possessed. So Georgia, to me, absolutely is a team that can win a national title this year. There is one thing, though, to watch for the Dogs. That is their schedule. Last year, we talked a lot about Georgia on the show and the fact that they were playing a cupcake schedule until the end of the year, till November. First 2 months were a cakewalk. This year, that is not the case. They open up, and now it's quote-unquote a neutral site, but it's in Atlanta, so it's a home game for them. They play Clemson at Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Later in the month, you play at Alabama. You're at Texas this year. Remember that name. You'll hear it again shortly. At Ole Miss, who will be a preseason top 10 team going into this season. And home against Tennessee. Those are explosive offenses. In some case, a few teams very well balanced offense and defensively. 3 tough road games at Bama, at Texas, at Ole Miss. I think Georgia's going to fall at some point in the regular season. They're going to make the playoff, and they still could lose a game, wind up in the SEC championship game, and win it. But I don't think they are running through the regular season clean like they've done, like they did last year, like they did in 2022. I think they're going to suffer a hiccup here. That is a daunting gauntlet of a schedule they have to go through here, and I don't think it's built for them to go a clean 12-0 in the regular season. So Georgia, I think, will lose in the regular season, but they are still absolutely, even with one loss on their resume, making the playoff, no doubt about it, and a true national title contender here in 2024. I told you before, I said Texas, remember that name. Why? Because Texas is number 2 in this list of teams that could win the national title game here in 2024. Texas has the best quarterback in the country. Quinn Ewers, to me, is QB1 when it comes to entering 2024. So that obviously gives you a great leg up on the competition if you're Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns. I like the fact that they lost some big-time receivers in the draft, but I like the fact they did a really good job, I think, in the transfer portal of addressing those losses as well. So you shouldn't suffer a big drop-off losing 2 talented guys to the draft like Texas did. I think that the receivers will be fine. And I think Sark has earned, I'll say this, he's proven, it's a better word, proven. He's proven he can win the big game. There were questions. Questions about him, questions about Texas. Can they break through? Last year on the road in Tuscaloosa showed you they can absolutely break through. Getting to the playoff last year, no, they didn't win it, but playing really well against Washington. I don't think Texas, and this I think has been the case in the past with previous coaching staffs, they have gotten afraid of the moment. They have been there and shriveled. Sark is someone now I think that's going to take his team and elevate them to big-time moments. They're not going to be afraid of it. So I think that game last year in Alabama is going to really carry and really propel Texas to that elite level now moving forward for years to come. They also have a very favorable schedule working for them. They're at Michigan early in the year, but we'll get to Michigan a little bit later on. I don't think they're going to be as tough as they were last year and even the last 3 years, going undefeated in each of those 3 regular seasons. They have Oklahoma at home, not at home, as you know, in Dallas, Red River, and they have Georgia at home. So the toughest game of the schedule is at home. Michigan, I think, is a bigger name than they are foe now in the field with what they've lost. And the other big game you have, right, is against your arch rival, but that's at a neutral site, and you're coming off of a game that you should have won last year in blue. Texas has a very favorable schedule to have them in the SEC title game, but also set them up to where they can get a first-round bye. Remember, with the 12-team format, the top 4 teams, the top 4 conference winners get a first-round bye. One less game you have to play. You also get now, that neutral site game in the round number 2. So you make your path to a national title easier by winning your conference. And this schedule, and when you look at just SEC, Oklahoma neutral site, Georgia at home, no real other roadblocks you have to worry about too much if you're the Longhorns. That is a very favorable schedule to get them to Atlanta and help put them in a spot where they can win the SEC and get that first round bye. Texas, team number 2 on my list that can win a national title. The third and final team that I could see winning a national championship here in 2024, the Oregon Ducks. Dylan Gabriel is a quarterback that can chuck it with the best of them. We saw it at UCF and also Oklahoma as well. He could sling it around the yard. And guess what? The Ducks have the weapons at receiver to have him light up any defense that they face. I would say that, at least for me going into this year, the best receiver room in the country. Coupled with one of the best offensive lines in the country. So they are strong on the interior, loaded with talent on the outside. This is a team that is fast, physical, talented. Those are the 3 benchmarks I think you have to check in order to be a true national title here in the year of 2024. And the Ducks check all 3. They're not just finesse. Dan Lanning has brings that physicality with him from Georgia, brings that toughness. So while they have a lot of talent and they are very fast, they are still tough. That is a big quality you need to have because you're not beating Georgia, you're not beating Alabama, you're not beating Texas, you're not even beating Ohio State if you are not tough. The Ducks are tough. And similar to Texas, they also have a very favorable schedule that should see them in the Big Ten title game bare minimum. Their toughest game is at home. Ohio State comes to town October 12th. Mark your calendars. It is a great college football day. That game, I think, is going to be the marquee event of that Saturday, so make sure you're locked in. That's going to be a fun one. And your only other tough game you have, just like Texas, at Michigan. And again, I think Michigan is going to be... They are definitely taking a step, I would say a few steps down from what they've been the last 3 years. So it's an easier game than it looked a few years ago. That's it. Oregon has a favorable schedule here where they should be bare minimum in Indianapolis, playing for a spot to get that first round bye and playing for a chance to get that much closer to winning their first national title. So as you look right now, as you get set for college football to start here in a few weeks, expanded playoff is here. We have some drastic coaching changes as well that have altered the sport. With all that should bring parity to the sport here in 2024, I think we are still going to see a very top-heavy college football in terms of teams that can actually win the national title. Not make the playoff, not win a playoff game, but hoist the coach's trophy at the end of the year. Only 3 teams I can see doing that. Georgia, Texas, Oregon.